As the South Korean ambassador to the UN, Mun-ju is a highly respected diplomat internationally. Her husband Jang Jun-ik is a member of parliament and plans to run for president. To support his political career, Mun-ju resigned and returned to Korea. As a token of gratitude, Jang Jun-ik gifted her a precious cross-shaped necklace. This morning, Jang Jun-ik accompanied his wife to attend church mass. Outside the church, a large crowd of protesters gathered, opposing Jang Jun-ik's policy of peaceful reunification with North Korea, which they believe would undermine South Korea's foundation. Mun-ju walked calmly into the church with her husband. A man was filming from above, secretly focusing his camera on her. Mun-ju turned as if sensing his presence. As the mass began under the priest's guidance, a man in military uniform suddenly stepped forward and drew his gun, shooting Jang Jun-ik. At the sound of gunfire, Mun-ju rushed from her seat, shielding her husband with her own body. Just in time, the filming man rushed down and unexpectedly subdued the attacker with a gunshot. However, the attacker had prepared and swallowed poison to commit suicide. Jang Jun-ik was taken to the hospital, but succumbed to excessive blood loss. Mun-ju was devastated, as she deeply loved her husband and never imagined this outcome. Jang Jun-ik's death not only intensified party turmoil, but also plunged his widow into family disputes. The Jang family owns South Korea's largest shipping and logistics company. Years ago, the grandmother had transferred all family assets to Jang Jun-ik, her eldest grandson. Now childless, Mun-ju, as the widow, is legally entitled to inherit all her husband's property. The grandmother and mother-in-law resent the family business being taken over by an outsider. A lawyer then read Jang Jun-ik's will regarding his property distribution. According to the will, Jang Jun-ik left tens of billions of won in cash and real estate entirely to his wife. The mother-in-law demanded an explanation, while the grandmother openly humiliated the widow, claiming the daughter-in-law, with no family background, had never been worthy of the family. As a woman who had traveled the world, Mun-ju was no pushover. She glared directly at her grandmother and mother-in-law, declaring that though not born into wealth, she was a daughter raised with love by her mother, who taught her never to be ashamed of her origins. Unrelenting, the older women sued to seize the inheritance. Beyond them, Mun-ju's brother-in-law, Jang Jun-ik's younger brother, harbored his own ambitions. As a prosecutor, he intended to take up his brother's mantle and run for president, privately urging Mun-ju to donate the inheritance to his campaign. She refused, daring him and the elders to challenge her. The investigation into Jang Jun-ik's assassination revealed that the shooter, Sergeant Kim, belonged to the Special Warfare Command. His home contained numerous photos and documents related to Jang Jun-ik, suggesting he was an extremist opposed to reunification. The man who subdued the killer, nicknamed Baek San-ho, was of unknown nationality and vanished after the incident. That night, Baek San-ho received a call. A client requested his protection of Mun-ju, who was reportedly in grave danger. From then on, he secretly observed her, noting that despite her grief, she masked her emotions, remaining absorbed in work as if adversity had never touched her. During his time as a mercenary in the Middle East, Baek San-ho had already taken notice of Mun-ju, the outstanding UN ambassador. Unlike other diplomats, her passionate and heartfelt speeches about the Korean Peninsula deeply moved him. Through the church priest, Baek San-ho returned the necklace Mun-ju had dropped in the church that day. He had carefully repaired it in the church the night before. During their conversation, Baek San-ho noticed that Mun-ju was being followed. He swiftly eliminated the tracker and took her to a secluded mountain under the cover of night. In the forest, Mun-ju directly questioned whether Baek San-ho had heard Sergeant Kim's final words before his suicide. Baek San-ho had heard clearly. Kim said, "I killed the spy." This left Mun-ju perplexed. If Kim wasn't insane, it meant her husband might have been a spy. Baek San-ho showed her the video he had taken that day. In it, before the assassination, Kim had placed something inside the church, a Bible with a blank business card bearing a phone number inside. Baek San-ho had tried calling the number, but it was disconnected. Shortly after, a group of men searched a public phone booth, trying to track down the caller. From this, Baek San-ho and Mun-ju concluded that the number's owner must be a high-ranking official. Baek San-ho also shared security footage from outside the church. It showed that before the assassination, Kim had met a mysterious figure in a car none other than Mun-ju's brother-in-law. Armed with these clues, Mun-ju met with her husband's aides. Recently, she noticed that their numbers had grown significantly, as if something had made her husband uneasy. The head aide revealed, a month prior, Jang Jun-ik had received mysterious private calls. The day before his wife's return, He appeared unusually agitated, demanding additional security personnel. He claimed a squirrel was following him. Seo Mun-ju recalled that her husband once drew a picture of a squirrel, explaining that his younger brother had been bitten by one as a child, hence the nickname Squirrel. Now it became clear that the one tracking Jang Jun-ik was indeed his younger brother. So Mun-ju's assistant called, informing her that Sergeant Kim's family was hastily relocating, apparently with outside help. This only reinforced Seo Mun-ju's conviction that there was a mastermind behind her husband's assassination. The assistant trailed Kim's family to the airport, suspecting they were fleeing the country. However, while focusing on observation, the assistant was inadvertently spotted. Soon after, the brother-in-law called, revealing that the assistant was in his custody and using this as leverage to demand a meeting with Seo Mun-ju. During the meeting, Seo Mun-ju directly confronted her brother-in-law about why he had been tracking Jang Jun-ik. Unapologetic, he declared that Jang Jun-ik was a spy and that his surveillance was merely an attempt to shield his brother from exposure. If the public and international community discovered that a presidential candidate was a spy, it would trigger massive instability. He also mentioned Baek San-ho, revealing that he was America's top mercenary employed by a U.S. military contractor. He insinuated that Baek San-ho's presence in the church was part of an American mission to monitor Jang Jun-ik, a threat to U.S.-South Korea relations in their eyes. Seo Mun-ju dismissed these claims. She knew her husband's kindness and her brother-in-law's ambition to usurp his position. She suspected the spy allegation was fabricated. Unwilling to argue further, the brother-in-law, using the assistant as leverage, demanded that Seo Mun-ju leave South Korea within 24 hours. To him, his politically astute sister-in-law was an obstacle to his presidential aspirations. After ensuring the assistant's safety, Seo Mun-ju played for time, temporarily agreeing to his demand. But in private, Seo Mun-ju went to the church to meet the priest celebrating Mass, only to find him dead. Inside the priest's room, she encountered Baek San-ho again. He shielded Seo Mun-ju as the assassin was still present. A life and death struggle ensued between Baek San-ho and the killer. When questioned, the assassin merely said, "The whale in the deep sea," before escaping in the chaos. Baek San-ho opened a hidden compartment in the room and led Seo Mun-ju into the church's secret underground tunnel. There, she directly questioned his identity. He simply stated that his contract with the U.S. military contractor had ended. Additionally, he handed her the Bible the priest had given her, inside which was another blank business card with only a phone number. It seemed the priest might have been connected to the mastermind behind the assassination. Baek San-ho had already deduced that the priest had been poisoned. In the tunnel, Baek San-ho retrieved a secret letter and a satellite image from the wine the priest had left him. The letter was addressed to Jang Jun-ik and sent by U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Anderson. After reading it, Baek San-ho and Seo Mun-ju finally understood the truth. The satellite image captured a North Korean nuclear submarine. Faced with this blatant nuclear threat, the U.S. immediately deployed a strategy, planning to launch a proportional precision strike to destroy all of North Korea's nuclear weapons. Anderson was alarmed by this plan. If tensions escalated, the entire Korean Peninsula and East Asia would be dragged into endless war. As a Korean American, Anderson was determined to prevent the looming crisis. He wrote to his former classmate, Jang Jun-ik, for help. Seo Mun-ju and Baek San-ho were certain that Jang Jun-ik and the priest had planned to announce during Mass that the Korean Peninsula was on the brink of war. Before parting ways the next day, Baek San-ho gave Seo Mun-ju the saint medallion the priest had gifted him, hoping it would protect her. To fulfill her husband's wishes, Seo Mun-ju resolved to seek help from the president. However, after reading Anderson's letter to Jang Jun-ik, the president immediately destroyed it. In truth, after Jang Jun-ik's assassination, the president had already discovered the North Korean nuclear threat. To prevent the impending war, he planned to use political maneuvering to cover up the truth of Jang Jun-ik's murder and strengthen the U.S.-South Korea alliance. The president warned Seo Mun-ju that what was coming was war, not diplomacy, and urged her to stay out of it. Seo Mun-ju could not accept the president's deceptive decision to hide the truth. At that moment, a different choice began to take root in her heart. That same day, she asked her mother-in-law why she had agreed to her marriage to Jang Jun-ik if she disapproved of her background. The mother-in-law admitted it was because Seo Mun-ju possessed a rare quality, the ability to make people trust her unconditionally. Understanding her mother-in-law's perspective, Seo Mun-ju made a bold and unusual proposal. She would continue her husband's unfinished path and run for president. If her mother-in-law fully supported her, she would transfer all of her husband's inheritance to her upon becoming a candidate. The mother-in-law agreed without hesitation. In her eyes, her younger son, the prosecutor, was unreliable, and someone had to carry on her eldest son's legacy. After reaching an agreement, Mun-ju asked her mother-in-law to contact her younger son-in-law. She demanded that the younger brother return her assistant unharmed and that he withdraw from the election and leave the country within 24 hours. To prevent the war, Mun-ju was willing to risk everything. Meanwhile, at the Yalu River, Baek San-ho, who had originally planned to go to North Korea, could not let go of his concern for Mun-ju. He decided to stand by her side and face this crisis head-on. To secure her position as a presidential candidate, Mun-ju began meticulous preparations. She first visited a historian and her late husband's mentor, hoping to gain his support in analyzing North Korea's strategic decisions. The professor warned Mun-ju that war on the peninsula was inevitable, and that if she pursued the presidency, she would be swept away by the tides of history. Undeterred, Mun-ju remained resolute. She vowed to change the course of history if the professor would assist her. Mun-ju recognized the power of media in shaping public opinion. A photo taken by an American news agency shielding her husband during the assassination became a powerful symbol of her strength, boosting her campaign. Next, she confronted her brother-in-law with video evidence of his infidelity and mistreatment of his wife. With no other options, he reluctantly agreed to leave South Korea. The mother-in-law also played a crucial role. She met with the chairman of Mun-ju's political party, threatening to expose his illegitimate daughter unless he endorsed Mun-ju as their candidate. The chairman had no choice but to comply and publicly supported her campaign. Through their combined efforts, Mun-ju's popularity soared, and she became the leading candidate within her party. On Sunday, Mun-ju would officially announce her candidacy at Gwanghwamun Square. Her mother-in-law, deeply understanding public sentiment, knew that in the eyes of the people, Mun-ju, who had shielded her husband from gunfire, would be seen as Joan of Arc. To help her daughter-in-law maintain this image, she had hired experts to prepare Mun-ju's speech for the occasion. Meanwhile, Baek San-ho renewed his contract with the U.S. military contractor and obtained weapons. However, while assembling them, he found himself watching a video of Mun-ju's speech as South Korea's ambassador to the UN. To him, she shone too brightly in that footage. When the president learned of Mun-ju's decision to run, he called her, his tone laced with disapproval. He saw her move as a direct challenge, but Mun-ju refused to back down. She believed the president's plan to appease the U.S. and resolve the crisis through political maneuvering would fail. She intended to expose the truth, convinced that diplomacy without truth was doomed to collapse. On the day of her campaign announcement, Mun-ju stood poised and confident. With her team, she traveled from Gwangju's Memorial Park to Daejeon's National Cemetery, launching a grand publicity campaign broadcast live across all media. The final stop was Seoul's Gwanghwamun. But as this unfolded, Baek San-ho received word that a bomb expert had arrived in South Korea. Confirming the report, he urgently met with Mun-ju's aides, warning that she must not board the train to Seoul. Unfortunately, it was too late. She had already boarded. Over the phone, Baek San-ho's voice grew grave. "Do not stand up. There's a bomb under your seat." In the face of this danger, Mun-ju had no choice but to halt the live broadcast. Desperate to save her, Baek San-ho sped toward the train, finally reuniting with her at the next station. Inside the train carriage, Baek San-ho punctured Mun-ju's seat. True enough, a timed bomb was hidden beneath it. The bomb squad had yet to arrive, and only 6 minutes remained before detonation. While instructing Mun-ju to regulate her breathing, Baek San-ho frantically dismantled the device. After cutting one of the bomb's wires, he gently clasped Mun-ju's hand, pressed close to her body, and swapped seats with her, placing himself directly above the bomb to ensure her safety. As Mun-ju exited unharmed, Baek San-ho held his breath and leapt from his seat just as the explosion occurred. The seat was nearly obliterated. Mun-ju's anxiety surged until she confirmed Baek San-ho was injured but alive, and only then did her tension ease. After the explosion, her aides urged her to postpone her schedule, but Mun-ju refused to rest and insisted on proceeding to Seoul as planned to announce her candidacy. Upon arrival, she ascended the political stage amid public applause. To her mother-in-law's surprise, she abandoned the pre-written speech and instead spoke from the heart, sharing her genuine experiences and convictions with the crowd. She vowed to lead the people beyond division toward unity and hope. Her impassioned address triggered prolonged applause. Even the previously hesitant party chairman rose to applaud. From afar, Baek San-ho watched Mun-ju, his eyes brimming with concealed affection. Later, at the police station to assist with the bombing investigation, Seo Mun-ju's gaze lingered on Baek San-ho. As their eyes met, she unconsciously tightened the necklace gifted by her late husband. That night, Seo Mun-ju lay awake and visited the church, wearing not only her husband's cross but also Baek San-ho's saint medallion. He followed her there. When she questioned why he kept appearing whenever she was in danger, Baek San-ho revealed that since her husband's assassination, he had known Seo Mun-ju would be next. The bomb was a message from the perpetrators. Anyone trying to prevent the Korean Peninsula's war would not survive. To better protect her, Baek San-ho offered himself as her aide, sharing her determination to avert the impending catastrophe. He firmly believed she could succeed. Faced with his directness and fervor, Seo Mun-ju cast aside her final hesitation and shook his hand, agreeing to hire him. Meanwhile, at sea, swirling eddies and approaching storms mirrored the looming nuclear threat from North Korea. A war of destruction seemed inevitable. Seo Mun-ju agreed to let Baek San-ho be her aide but remained suspicious. The chief of staff presented a report showing Baek San-ho as an international contract killer who had shot countless people in the Middle East and elsewhere. The chief even suspected Baek San-ho was a North Korean spy with ulterior motives for approaching Seo Mun-ju. An American informant emailed Seo Mun-ju, revealing that Baek San-ho had once saved an oil tycoon's daughter during an attack, making him a rare security candidate. After weighing the options, Seo Mun-ju decided against hasty judgment. Instead, she planned to use the hiring opportunity to uncover Baek San-ho's true identity and motives. When Seo Mun-ju insisted on hiring Baek San-ho, her mother-in-law warned her. In the mother-in-law's eyes, Baek San-ho was the type of man who could captivate women and had already risked his life for Seo Mun-ju. If Seo Mun-ju ever fell for him, her presidential aspirations would be ruined. Seo Mun-ju stood firm. She believed Baek San-ho's 2 rescues of her must be linked to her husband, Jang Joo-nik's assassination. To uncover the truth behind the assassination, she was willing to take the risk. Since becoming Seo Mun-ju's exclusive aide, Baek San-ho's protection had been meticulous. He chose a highly secure residence for her, always opened doors for her, and thoroughly inspected every corner upon entry. He forbade her from opening windows to prevent sniper attacks and insisted on living in the adjacent room, separated only by a door. For Seo Mun-ju's safety, Baek San-ho considered every detail. Soon, Seo Mun-ju's mother-in-law visited the house and found Baek San-ho cooking for her. The ingredients were reportedly carefully selected by him. The mother-in-law grew suspicious, sensing an unusual relationship between them. Although she supported her daughter-in-law's presidential bid, she distrusted Seo Mun-ju and reminded the chief of staff to keep a close eye on her. Baek San-ho made chicken soup for Seo Mun-ju, but she didn't eat a bite. Her assistant explained her food preferences, but Baek San-ho sulked like a child, believing food waste was unacceptable. Seo Mun-ju attended her second campaign rally. As her security aide, Baek San-ho remained highly alert and quickly noticed a suspicious man on the second-floor walkway. The man soon disappeared into the crowd. After the event, Baek San-ho spotted the same man by the roadside, with a construction vehicle approaching from behind. Sensing danger, he ordered an immediate U-turn, but the vehicle forced its way forward. Just as disaster loomed, Baek San-ho desperately steered the wheel. Simultaneously, the vehicle behind exploded. Seo Mun-ju saw a gunman approaching. At the last moment, Baek San-ho shielded her from the car and led her to a safe underground area. As subway trains rushed past, Baek San-ho protected her again and explained his earlier discovery. The suspicious man had a distinctive tattoo on his neck, marking him as one of the world's deadliest soldiers. Seo Mun-ju was shaken, while Baek San-ho gently urged her to stay strong, warning that more challenges lay ahead. She washed her face in the tunnel, and he carefully wiped the wound on her forehead. With the area clear, he safely escorted her out of the station. Back at the residence, Baek San-ho insisted he would personally drive Seo Mun-ju from then on, trusting no one, not even the chief of staff. The chief, in turn, distrusted Baek San-ho. According to the National Intelligence Service's report, the explosion was linked to the military contractor Baek San-ho worked with. The chief suspected Baek San-ho's involvement. Seo Mun-ju told the chief to monitor Baek San-ho's movements, but avoid showing suspicion. Privately, Baek San-ho spoke urgently to his American military contractor boss, demanding to know the identity of the client who had hired him to protect Seo Mun-ju. However, the boss refused to disclose the information, citing contract terms that prohibited inquiries about employers. Furious, Baek Sanho had previously fulfilled his contract by providing updates about SEO Mun-ju to the boss, but now, he refused to continue working for the client. That night, SEO Mun-ju had troubled dreams, especially about her husband being suspected of espionage. Noticing her distress, Baek Sanho took her for a night run. During a break, SEO Mun-ju directly asked if he was hiding anything from her. Baek Sanho simply smiled, asking why he would have saved her multiple times if he intended to harm her. SEO Mun-ju then asked if he would block a bullet for her. Baek Sanho firmly answered yes. In response, she returned the saintly pendant he had given her, hoping it would protect the man who risked his life for her. Yet, she continued to monitor Baek Sanho's actions, and saw him praying that night, asking for forgiveness for her food waste. Such actions were gradually breaking down SEO Mun-ju's defenses. The next day, SEO Mun-ju received a call from the chief. The chief reported that they had found Jang Jun-ik's secret phone and successfully cracked it using an algorithm. However, upon seeing the messages inside, the chief frowned, appearing deeply troubled. Before leaving, he even formatted the computer. SEO Mun-ju's assistant happened to see the chief on the road. When the assistant caught up, they witnessed the chief being hit by a car. Rushed to the hospital, the chief whispered to SEO Mun-ju before surgery that Jang Jun-ik might indeed have been a spy. SEO Mun-ju was plunged into unease. At this moment, the assistant handed SEO Mun-ju the secret phone found at the car crash scene. However, the phone had also been formatted by the chief. Then, an unknown number sent SEO Mun-ju a message, instructing her to go to a certain house. Under Baek Sanho's protection, SEO Mun-ju arrived at the location specified by the sender. To her shock, she found a family portrait inside the house featuring her husband, Jang Jun-ik, another woman, and a young boy. The woman and boy in the photo then appeared. The woman bluntly stated she was Jang Jun-ik's mistress, and they had been in a relationship for 9 years. The boy was his illegitimate son. Facing SEO Mun-ju, the mistress looked furious. On the day Jang Jun-ik was assassinated, she and her son were also in the church. They witnessed Jang Jun-ik's death and saw SEO Mun-ju being hailed as a saintly figure protecting her husband. In the mistress's eyes, SEO Mun-ju's grief that day was fake. Only she truly loved Jang Jun-ik. To prove this to the world, the mistress challenged SEO Mun-ju, vowing to file a paternity lawsuit and ensure her son received everything he was deprived of. She dared to confront the presidential candidate and the legal wife because she had backing. Jang Jun-ik's grandmother was actually her supporter, even allowing the mistress and child to live with her. Despite the mistress's shamelessness, SEO Mun-ju remained extremely calm. She stated she usually didn't compete with weak people, but wouldn't back down if necessary. The mistress was equally defiant, pulling out a cross necklace identical to the one SEO Mun-ju was wearing. She had designed it, praying it would make SEO Mun-ju bow and cry. SEO Mun-ju left in anger, throwing away her necklace as she walked away. She couldn't believe her trusted husband had betrayed her for years. SEO Mun-ju stormed off to meet her mother-in-law. She already suspected her mother-in-law had known about the mistress all along. The mother-in-law did not deny it but said it was a golden opportunity for Seo Mun-ju's campaign. Seo Mun-ju refused to accept this and decisively tore up the agreement with her mother-in-law. She took back her promise to leave all her inheritance to her and severed all ties. This was not an impulsive act, as Seo Mun-ju had thoroughly investigated her mother-in-law over the years. She had gathered secrets everywhere, uncovering allegations of tax evasion, financial fraud, and more. She had collected all the evidence and now used it as leverage to force her mother-in-law to silence the mistress. When the grandmother intervened, Seo Mun-ju refused to back down. She called her assistant and ordered the entire inheritance to be donated, ensuring neither the grandmother nor the mistress would receive a penny. Enraged, the grandmother slapped Seo Mun-ju hard. Heartbroken, Seo Mun-ju followed Baek Sanho to a quiet, deserted riverbank. There, Baek Sanho patiently taught her to shoot, guiding her until she hit the bullseye accurately. He remained gentle, seeing her as unshakable and untouchable. Back at their residence, Baek Sanho softly massaged Seo Mun-ju's tense palms after shooting. The gesture was too intimate, leaving her with a flustered gaze. According to the latest intelligence, U.S. reconnaissance aircraft and aircraft carriers are approaching the peninsula. The teacher believes this is a clear signal of an American attack on North Korea. However, among the students, some accused the teacher of spreading rumors and assaulted him that night. Despite being hospitalized, the injured teacher remained concerned about the situation. He warned Seo Mun-ju, based on recent news, the U.S. may have convinced the president to strike first. The teacher listed 3 signs of imminent war: If U.S. military radio plays Silent Night, war will begin within 12 hours. He urgently instructed Mun-ju to spread the warning and prevent disaster at all costs. Intelligence agencies labeled the teacher a spy and arrested him. Now, the responsibility fell entirely on Mun-ju. Her assistant then brought good news. They had uncovered secret emails on Jang Junik's encrypted phone, revealing covert correspondence between Jang and U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Anderson. According to Anderson, the U.S. believed North Korea was preparing a nuclear strike on South Korea based on the defection of 3 North Korean fleet members. The defectors claimed North Korea's advanced nuclear submarines capable of carrying 10,000 tons were advancing toward the south. Their detailed descriptions even convinced U.S. This convinced Anderson the nuclear submarine story was a North Korean fabrication, a trap to provoke the U.S. into overreacting. His warnings fell on deaf ears. Desperate, Anderson investigated independently and found no evidence of such submarines existing. Amid all the investigation files, Anderson kept seeing the same name, Stella Young. For years, this person had been claiming that North Korea could build massive nuclear submarines. Anderson focused his investigation on her, discovering that her passport had no photo. Immigration records showed she had entered South Korea a decade ago and never left. Soon, Jang Jun-ik messaged Anderson, revealing Stella Young's true identity only to be murdered 2 days later. Mun-ju suspected Stella Young was behind the assassination. Mun-ju confronted the president at church, demanding why she would compromise and allow war on the peninsula. The president said it was a calculated decision under the circumstances. Neither she nor Mun-ju could do anything. For the nation's survival, Mun-ju publicly warned of imminent war during her next campaign rally. To convince the anxious public, she video-called Anderson in the square, where he presented the confessions of the 3 defectors. The footage showed the 3 admitting, before their suicide, that they had never seen the nuclear submarine. The rally was deemed illegal, and SWAT teams were ordered to arrest Mun-ju. Snipers took aim at her. Baek San-ho rammed a truck onto the stage, then escaped with her by speedboat. During the chaos, Mun-ju was shot in the arm. At a safe location, Baek San-ho bandaged and stitched her wound despite his own injuries. That night, he drove her to a secret forest cabin. Gently, he washed her injured hair and taught her to shoot again, urging her to face her enemies. After cooking her a meal, they grew closer. Baek San-ho said, "If a nuclear bomb comes, I want to be with the one I love." Mun-ju assumed he meant family, but he replied, "Now and forever, that's you." Touched, she couldn't refuse when he kissed her. In the perilous darkness, U.S. military radio began playing the war-signaling Christmas song. As the dangerous melody played, Baek San-ho kissed Mun-ju again, praying she would remember this day as ordinary for one last time.